am Joy Ezeilo, Professor of Law, former UN Special Rapporteur on Trafficking in Person, the founder of WACO Tamasak, and convener of West African Women's Rights Coalition, among so many other things. I'm currently one of the international independent fact-finding mission experts on Sudan. Uzowulu stepped forward and presented his case. That woman standing there is my wife, Mwafo. I married her with my money and my yams. I do not owe my in-laws anything. I owe them no yams. I owe them no cocoyams. One morning, 3 of them came to my house, beat me up, and took my wife and children away. This happened in the rainy season. I've waited in vain for my wife to return. At last, I went to my in-laws and said to them, "You have taken back your sister. I did not send her away. You yourself took her. The law of the clan is that you should return her bride price." But my wife's brothers said they had nothing to tell me. So I brought the matter to the fathers of the clan. My case is finished. I salute you. Say, "Your words are good," said the leader of Olubu. "Let us hear Odukwe." Odukwe was shot and thick-set. He stepped forward, saluted the spirit, and began his story. My in-law has told you that we went to his house, beat him up, and took our sister and her children away. All that is true. He told you that he came to take her back, her bride price, and we refused to give it to him. That also is true. My in-law, Uzowulu, is a beast. My sister lived with him for 9 years. During those years, no single day passed in the sky without his beating that woman. We have tried to settle their quarrels, time without number, and on each occasion, Uzowulu was guilty. It's a lie, Uzowulu shouted. 2 years ago, continued Odukwe, when she was pregnant, he beat her until she miscarried. It's a lie. She miscarried after she had gone to sleep with her lover. Uzowulu's body, I salute you, said Evil Forest, silencing him. What kind of lover sleeps with a pregnant woman? There was a loud murmur of approbation from the crowd. Odukwe continued. Last year when my sister was recovering from an illness, he beat her again, so that if the neighbors had not gone in to save her, she would have been killed. We heard of it and did as you have been told. The law of Umofia is that if a woman runs away from her husband, her bride price is returned. But in this case, she ran away to save her life. Her 2 children belong to Uzowulu. We do not dispute it. But they are too young to leave their mother. If on the other hand, Uzowulu should recover from his madness and come in the proper way to beg his wife to return, she will do so on the understanding that if he ever beats her again, we shall cut off his genitals for him. The crowd roared with laughter. Evil Forest rose to his feet, and order was immediately restored. He ran a few steps in the direction of the women. They all fled in terror, only to return to their places almost immediately. The 9 then went away to consult. And thereafter, they saluted one another and they reappeared on the hill. They said, "Umofia Bueno." They replied, the crowd, thunderous crowd. "We have had both sides of the case," said Evil Forest. "Our duty is not to blame this man or to praise that, but to settle the dispute." He turned to Uzowulu's group and allowed a short pause. Uzowulu's body, "Do you know me?" I said, "How can I know you, Father? You are beyond our knowledge," Uzowulu replied. "I'm an Evil Forest. I kill a man on the day that his life is sweetest to him." "This is true," replied Uzowulu. "Go to your in-laws with a pot of wine and beg your wife to return to you. It is not bravery when a man fights with a woman." He turned to Odukwe and allowed a brief pause. "Odukwe's body, I greet you," he said. "My hand is on ground," replied Odukwe. "Do you know me?" Said, "No man can know you," replied Odukwe. "I am Evil Forest. I'm a dry meat that fills the mouth. I am the fire that burns without faggots. If your in-laws bring wine to you, let your sister go with him. I salute you." He pulled his staff from the habit and thrust it back. And crowd answered. Well, I don't know why such a someone say, why such a trifle should come before the, said one elder to another. Don't you know what kind of man Uzowulu is? He will not listen to any other decision, replied the other.
So tell us why you chose this.
Yeah, in my work, because when I just started reading this last night, and it was a lot of refreshing of memories, and I just said this is like a book of life. This book have everything, especially with regard to Igbo cosmology, even things happening currently, you can name it, every aspect, including the current gender discrimination women face, gender-based violence, what it means to being a man, and people thinking that being a man is battering your wife or ruling with iron fist like the Okonkwo. And when it got to this Uzowulu story, it was really to show the mediation, how mediation, even in old times and actually even modern times with traditional rulers and leaders that know their work, mediate conflict and interfamiliar conflict. It also reminded us that even in the past, and we know this as a custom, if you beat a woman, that actually battery was less in a way, and domestic violence or violence against women were less, because people could intervene like they did in this very case. And again, the family of the woman can come as they did and beat up the man. And now the matter has been settled and everybody knew this, just like the in-law qualified and said this man is a beast. And you see, even when who's supposed to be the evil forest, evil spirit, they were deciding, they said, look, it doesn't take a man. You cannot, if you're a man, you can't be beating your wife. So all of those, and they said, take back pot of wine and go and beg your wife family. And then he said, it's not bravery when a man's fight with a woman. As a lawyer, as the founder of Wakola and Tamasak, we've mediated over 80,000 cases in the last 28 years. And every day we deal with all forms of gender-based violence, issues around sexual violence, and we have seen countless, I personally have mediated countless of cases involving spousal battery, and we know also even in Nigeria that women have lost their lives because of this, just like, and we have seen a lot of cases where there was a miscarriage following battery, and then look at what happened to Osinachi, the gospel singer, and how we died from domestic violence. Often women don't speak about this, and in this case, the other neighbors, the way they say they saved them, because then it was still a lot of communal life. But now that people live in flats, in their, when people can't even intervene, they intervene and they lock up their flat. It's even harder for people to intervene in cases of domestic violence taking place in cities. So this resonates with me, and this passage just reminds me of the evil, the rising cases of domestic violence that we are dealing with in our communities, in our society, and the need to take action, including sensitizing men to understand that being a man or being bravery is not about battering your wife. It's not about being a perpetrator of gender-based violence. That there are other models, to look at, and there are a lot of other passages, and you can see a number of times even Okonkwo himself, battered the wives, at one point or the other. And this is part of being brave. He thought that he's being a man, and a lot of pressure then for them to demonstrate that you're a man was also, but this is a negative masculinity, and it's not this type of negative masculinity that we want. But I'm kind of thrilled the way the conflict was of course resolved, and you can see the family given their condition. You will not lay hands on her anymore. If you do, then that means that. So I believe that as a big lesson for a lot of people, especially in our society, is still relevant. And to think that this book was published in 1958 by the late sage Professor Joy Ezeilo. Reading it again just last night, it's really deep rooted in terms of our philosophy, the history, Igbo history, in terms of our entire being and living in society, subject to customary or cultural laws and customary laws and practices.
Prof, do you have a favorite character?
Eh?
Do you have a favorite character in this work?
Oh yeah, my favorite character is Ezima.
Yeah.
But the mother also, what Ekwefi is really, is a character, because one of the ones I would have read was how Ekwefi suffered a lot in her lifetime, having miscarriages up to 9 times or 10 before she had the eczema, and then how she endured, and the names that she gave them from Omubiko to Ozemena. And despite that, it was happening, and they tagged it Obanje, and she persevered. And then again, even it shows us how she could have married someone that she loved and out of money, and then later on she ran also to him, and was a brave woman, despite the fact that Okonkwo she was also suffered domestic violence in her hand. She never ceased to give her opinion or to knock at his doors, and he will know that it's only Ekwife that can do this type of banging at my door. So it's really is a character I admire. Also, it's also what some women go through, in real life, but still, standing tall and resilient. Yeah. So I like that story, and there's so many. Because when I looked and I read the moral lessons around, that boy called his father, he came here from do not have a hand in his death. And was properly advised, and he did not listen, and how that nemesis caught up with him, and how that was also the beginning of his fall, and in the end he died by suicide. So it's also good that people, because that was ultimate betrayal. Especially when he came in and was first matched, they ran to him and said, they've killed me, and then he completed the act. It was really things. But all of this was a man struggling to be brave, a man that detested who the father Onoka was, a man in a society that demand maybe so much from men, and being a man, what it means. So he had tried to embody what it means. You see how he suffered even after he committed that act. He suffered so much, he couldn't eat for 2 days. On the 3rd day, but he now said, well, since when did I become a wicked? And then had to get up. But it tells us also that, yeah, men have emotions, and we shall live, and every time again, she's regretting, Ezima should have been a man, how come he's a boy? So also the some preference ideology, the issue of, but you can see that daughters have always been an asset to the family, and will always be an asset to the family. It's just for people to realize it's God that decides ultimately the sex of a baby, and we have to accept them, treat them equally, treat them well. So each time is reminded, isn't massive like a woman, or she will offer to take her chair. No, it's not a job for the woman, but still he really admires it, and always wishing, I wish. And remember when they were in exile, when he talked to her and said, don't marry because you will, and she understood immediately, and all the time she's full of regret. But we shouldn't regret any child, any child that God gives us. We should invest in them, give them the best, and then allow them to be. Yeah.